Cast your minds back, if you will, to the final act of Alien. Remember when Ellen Ripley made her last-minute escape from the doomed Nostromo mere moments before it was vaporized in a series of thermonuclear explosions, only to discover the alien had been on board the shuttle with her all along, leading to a tense final showdown where she blows it out of the airlock and burns it up in the shuttle's thruster exhaust? Well, guess again. Because according to Feder Alvarez in his sequel Alien Romulus, the alien survived being barbecued in the vacuum of space just long enough for Weyland-Yutani to come and find it, conveniently floating next to a chunk of debris with Nostromo printed on the side, just to make sure even the dumbest of viewers know what's happening. It's difficult to find the words to express just how bad this premise really is, but what the hell, I'll give it a go. It's as absurd as it is offensive. Not only does it require us to deny the evidence of our own eyes and pretend we didn't see what we did when the Nostromo was reduced to atoms, it also undermines what we've all believed for the last 45 years, that Ripley's achievement wasn't just to save her own life, but she had ultimately outsmarted the perfect organism and put an end to its vile existence once and for all. It's not just our expectations that are being subverted nowadays, but our recollections as well. To be fair, things do improve somewhat from here, but it's debatable how much. The action soon switches to Jackson's Star, a Weyland-Yutani mining colony where we meet main character Rain Carradine, played by Kaylee Speeney. Now, prior to the film's release, much attention was focused on how young the cast is compared to previous entries in the franchise. Depending on exact filming dates, Speeney is about 5 years younger than Sigourney Weaver was in the first film. So yes, there is a difference, but I think it's more a sign of changing times that we now think of people in their 20s as adolescents instead of functioning adults. We're also used to Hollywood casting actors this age as teenagers, so it comes as something of a shock to see them playing characters the same age they are in real life. They generally do a reasonable job with the material they're given, even if it does all feel a bit Hunger Games in space at some points. But anyway, Gen Xenomorph are forcibly signed up to a kind of multi-generational indentured servitude to the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, basically doomed to take their parents' place in the mines until they're finally released from their contracts. Now, these films have always had an anti-corporatist undertone to them, but I find this a bit on the nose. I would simply have said they're free to leave whenever they like, but realistically have no way of paying for their passage off of Jackson's Star or of supporting themselves when they get where they're going. Sometimes the illusion of freedom that, in reality, you have no practical means of exercising is more darkly depressing than having it explicitly taken away from you. It's a minor point, but I think it speaks to one of this film's other major flaws, its general lack of subtlety. But, as luck would have it, the now abandoned Renaissance space station where Weyland-Yutani were experimenting on their captured xenomorph has conveniently drifted into orbit around the colony. What? Drifted? From where? Interstellar space? Another star system? Was it travelling faster than light? If Jackson's Star is a Weyland-Yutani colony, why hasn't the company made any effort to recover it themselves? Apparently, none of that matters. What does matter is the station is equipped with cryostasis pods. So Rain and friends hatch a plan to fly there in one of the colony's cargo vessels, steal the pods, and freeze themselves for the 8-year journey to Ivaga 3, a non-Weyland-Yutani planet. So you're telling me this cargo hauler, to which they conveniently have free and unrestricted access, is fully equipped and sufficiently fueled for an interstellar voyage, and the only problem is it's missing the cryostasis pods they need to keep the crew alive? For the love of God, really? I don't want to labour the point, but had they gone with my suggestion, they could have just said they were looting the space station to pay for their trip instead of this contrived nonsense about cryopods, but never mind. Anyway, they board the Renaissance station, and finding the stasis pods doesn't take long, but because they need another MacGuffin to hunt, the pods are running low on cryofuel. So the gang head deeper into the station to look for more, only to discover it's being used to keep a bunch of facehuggers on ice, and you can pretty much guess the rest. Okay, look. A lot of the reason this film has annoyed me as much as it has is that it had the potential to be so much better. There are some genuinely good elements to it. For one thing, I fully support the decision to retain the retro-futuristic aesthetic from the first film, right down to computers with CRT screens and 3.5-inch floppy drives. No, this is not a 3D printed save icon. It also makes heavy use of practical effects, which, for the most part, work well. I don't like these translucent tendons the xenomorphs have picked up around their jaws, but apart from that, they generally look fairly decent. The cast are mostly forgettable, with Kaylee Speeney putting in a competent but unremarkable performance in the lead role. The best acting job comes from David Johnson as Andy, an obsolete and malfunctioning android who Rain's late father reprogrammed to act as her adopted brother. Now I come to think of it, there's a running theme in the recent Alien movies of the android character basically carrying the whole film, but I digress. I also acknowledge that Fede Alvarez is at least something of a fan of the franchise, and that absolutely is a prerequisite to be able to come up with a decent sequel, but it is not in itself sufficient. Alien Romulus has the feel of a high-budget fanfic, and the cheesy callbacks are really a symptom of a deeper problem. There's a reason why this film goes so far out of its way to let us know that this is the same alien from the first film. It's because Fede wants to inject his story, and in some sense, a part of himself, into that classic work. But he lacks the self-awareness to realise what he's actually doing is making himself look like a slightly sad tribute act. But ultimately, whatever I have to say about it makes little difference, because this film was a commercial success in a year bestrewn with disappointing box office numbers. And it's been confirmed Alvarez has already been approached about making a sequel, whether we want it or not. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, if he can rein in his more self-indulgent fanboy impulses and keep his premise more grounded, he just might have better luck next time. But unlike the xenomorph in the opening scene, I'm not holding my breath.